Okay, recording is starting now. I'm here with a bunch of kids, and we're going to do the Street Epistemology Survey. And by kids, I mean adults. You guys are all adults, right?
Kinda.
Yeah, so we'll go around and have everybody say your name. If you want to use a fake name, that's totally fine. Starting here.
I'll opt out of the name
Okay,
section.
no name. Would you like to say a name?
Not really.
Okay. So far, so good.
Let's go with Samantha.
Samantha.
That's kind of fun.
Welcome, Samantha.
Can you give me a fake name?
Yeah. Want me to give you one?
Yeah.
Carl.
Carl.
Rad.
Carl Rad.
Oh.
That's good.
Are you gonna say a name?
I don't think I'm gonna talk.
You're not gonna talk. Okay.
Person number on the ground.
Yeah.
Person ground.
Ground floor. No name. That's fine. We don't need names anyway. So we're gonna do the Street Epistemology Survey. Some of the questions on it. Just gonna ask these guys. Tell me what you think about these words. Whether you agree or disagree, or if you have questions about it. So, the section 1 is what is truth? So this first statement is, a statement is true if it corresponds with reality. Do you agree, disagree, or somewhere in between? Something is true if it corresponds with reality.
Should we just go in a circle, like the same order?
Mm-hmm.
Agree. There's a lot of nuance here. I'm sure we'll get there.
Yes.
The other questions.
You can get into what do you mean by truth, what do you mean by reality.
Yeah,
Also.
I think my first thought is like if it corresponds with reality, I would just want to establish like some boundaries for what that means. Because some people are like, I feel this and that's my reality, therefore it is truth.
Yes.
Whereas like, and, other people would be like, well, we only have our own perceptions of reality. It could be anything. Like our eyes and our brains could be flawed and we don't know. So like, I would just take it as like, all right, if we have stuff that's reputable and that we understand to the best of our abilities, we just have to assume that's reality. And
Right.
the philosophy majors can log off and we can actually start moving forward with science or anything.
Yeah, and kind of on that note, the second one is we all share the same reality, only interpret it differently. So, some people would possibly
if
disagree.
the philosophy majors log back on, they might disagree with you, but...
Yeah, well, they're not here right now. It's just
Sure.
us. So, and this is just about your opinions or your thoughts on it. So, may or may not disagree. So, what do you guys think over here? If it's true, if something is true, if it corresponds with reality, what's your interpretation of that? We don't have to go in order.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What are your thoughts,
Well,
Samantha?
It's kind of along the same lines, but like truth is kind of, I don't know if it is quite defined, or at least we're not able to find what truth is entirely.
What do you think truth is?
In what sense?
What do you hope truth is?
What do you, if something is true, what do you mean when you say that? I think
it's
this is
true.
true. What do you mean?
I guess it's like you've had enough evidence to where like you can rely on it being that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even then, it can be proven wrong. So like,
Then is it
without
true?
knowing an all-knowing kind of truth, like an absolute. If you're not dealing in absolutes, then truth can be kind of a guess. If that makes sense.
Truth can be a guess.
Well, I don't think we can find, truth
Absolute truth.
until we maybe die. But
Like, let's take the statement, dogs are real. Would you say, where on the truth spectrum would that lie, do you think? Dogs are real.
On my experience,
Mhm.
pretty true, because I have one. But if you were to talk to some other philosophers, like I was taking a class in some people think that we could just be brains in a vat,
Mm-hmm.
so dogs might not be real. But to me they are, so that's good.
Yeah. So, and that would correspond with your reality, right? So in your reality, whether you're a brain in a vat or not a brain in a vat, in your experience, dogs are a real thing.
Right now dogs, yeah, they're real.
What were you gonna
Okay.
say? No
But
name?
What if? So my first thought was like, what if? So you know how like tomatoes are like kind of a fruit, but like we treat them as vegetables. But then like the more you look into it, it's like fruit is like maybe not even like a real category. I don't know enough about botany, so that could be wrong. But the point is, like, we have, like, names for things, like dogs, but, like, we could come up with, like, a scientific classification that's like, oh, dogs aren't real, these animals are canines, and, like, dog is just, like, a name, like, bug or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, are dogs real? It's like, yes, because we all socially understand what a dog is.
Mhm.
But, like, also we define our reality with, like, very specific ideas about, like, science, and, like, is that truth? Is that like more true to like look at the genetics of how animals breed and be like, oh, they don't share DNA or whatever, so they're not dogs?
Right.
I don't know. I'm mostly rambling, but we define truth in a lot of different ways. Like truths can be like socially real. Like we can just all kind of agree on something. We all know what this means. We all know what it is. So
Right. So like the definition of words matters in this scenario too. Like you could say 2 + 2 = 4, and you could say that's true as long as we all agree on what 2 is and what plus is and what 4 is. And if you change the definitions of any of those things, it no longer becomes a true statement, right?
yeah. Well, I guess that's
So-
another good thing to bring up. It's like 2 + 2 = 4, no matter what words or symbols we use to represent it.
In
It's
other
like,
languages or
yeah, because
just
they're-
symbolically maybe.
Yeah, because it's like quantity is what math is, and like quantity can be measured or symbolized like any number of different ways. But something like a dog is not like we all know what a dog is, but like I don't know how to just like tell you exactly what a dog is
Right.
or isn't.
You just go into
Right.
the classifications at
The
that point.
zoological
Has 4
definition
legs
of
most of the time.
yes.
Right, it's complicated.
Has fur most of the time, but there's always like exceptions to the rules too.
And I guess like that includes like scientific truth, in which case it's just like you make a hypothesis, you experiment on it, and it's just an updating result
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't really end. Like even with things like gravity, it was tested multiple times, even though like from birth it exists, it's there.
Yeah. Definitionally, we understand what gravity is, and so far it's always worked in our experience, right? So we can say gravity is real. Would you agree with that statement?
I would.
Who knows? What if the Earth is flat and it's just accelerating upwards at 9.8 meters per
Holding
second?
things down
Yeah.
at that rate.
I mean, without like the ability to like, you know, take photos in space where we can see that the Earth is round like very easily.
Those are photoshopped, I've heard.
I mean, like you
They're
know,
not.
that could be a hypothesis though. If we
Mhm.
couldn't prove that the Earth wasn't flat, which we can in like a billion different ways, but you know, like gravity is complicated because we can only do our best to guess how it works, and we only have our one planet, and it's like a universal thing as far as we can tell.
Right.
So like how it interacts at like a larger scale is something that we're only just starting to piece together. And
Well, and you can
again,
take-
people smarter than me.
Yeah, that thing, like, if it corresponds with reality, so far in our experience here on Earth, our reality is that things fall at 9.8 meters per, is that what it is, per second squared or whatever? And then it depends on mass and volume and, like,
You just
there's other factors. Like, if we were physicists, we would know these things.
I think it's like it mostly depends on like density.
Yeah.
Which is why it's weird. Because like size is not necessarily the thing. It's like how densely
Oh,
compacted.
right.
Because like a black hole
Weight.
could pull in whatever, and it's not usually
Right, but doesn't happen.
giant. But it
Yeah.
is kind of like,
There's
again, back
formulas.
to like philosophers.
Mhm.
Like the whole argument of skepticism is that like you don't really know anything, but it's been brought up that like it's not functionally justifiable to like just go off of not knowing anything. So it's you go with
Yeah.
what's been proven true until you can have enough evidence to prove it otherwise.
Yeah.
Well,
Agree with
would
that.
you accept something as true until it's proven to be not true?
It's kind of what you have to do.
Do you?
I mean, you can question it all you want, and I don't think it's bad to question things.
Because isn't there a lot of things that we just don't know?
Yeah.
Like we just have no idea. Should we accept all of them as true until they're proven otherwise, or should we remain skeptical? Like what would you guys do? And just say we don't know, or there's not enough evidence yet, or I'm gonna withhold my opinion until more facts come in.
I think it kind of goes with both ways. Because, like, you don't need to stop acting just because you doubt. You can act as well as continue researching what you're doing, or, like, continuing to doubt while you go forward until you find out otherwise, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to stop going to school just because I feel like it's not teaching me anything. You go until you're like, you know what? This is not right, or this is not what I should be doing right now.
Well, you have a ton of reasons to go to school, right?
Yeah. And you have a
Based
ton
on
of reasons to believe in gravity, or dogs, or
a ton
numbers.
of evidence.
So you keep acting with those things
Yeah.
until it's given the opportunity to develop more.
This is another concept, like it's not really on the survey, but like gauging your confidence level on a claim at a certain number based on the evidence that you have. Like, I've never been to Australia, but so I can't ever be 100%, and even if I flew there or something, I don't know, just because the sign says Australia, I could be being tricked, I could be a brain in a vat, I could be, any number of deceptions.
Yeah, you get on an airplane and
Yeah.
they take you somewhere else. Like, you guys
Yeah,
really
right.
believe
I don't
that?
know, I'm trusting.
Like our
So,
technology.
And the people who I've met from Australia, they claim they're from, I don't know if they're all lying. This might be the Truman Show for all we know, right? So to say I'm 100% sure that Australia exists would, to me, be less accurate than if I say 99. Does that make sense?
That
Because there
makes
is a lot
sense.
of valid evidence for the existence of Australia.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
You said this is about your confidence, and are you
Yes.
sure that Australia exists? That's a personal choice and belief.
Yes.
So you don't need 100% evidence or proof that Australia exists. You just
Mhm.
need to be sure in your own mind that Australia exists.
And I don't make life decisions based on whether Australia exists or not.
Unless you're going there.
Yeah, unless I have travel plans maybe. But like there's some beliefs that you could be 50% sure. Like I really don't know. Like, can you think of any? I'm not thinking of any examples of something like that offhand. But like, I guess with ghosts, you could be. There's a lady I was talking to. She's 80% sure that ghosts are real. So based on her experiences, but she still could change her mind given more evidence one way or another. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, I don't know what my point is. I don't have a
I
point.
think it's just fair to not ever
But yeah, just
100% anything.
Yeah, just defining what truth is. Sometimes it's 80% sure.
Like,
Sometimes
yeah.
it's...
Because even if you were to like meet like if you're religious, if you were to meet like a god,
hmm
how do you know that that's what they are? You can't really be
Could it
100%
be-
ever if
Yeah.
your brain is the only thing that's
Yeah.
perceiving it.
Could it be an alien race come to visit Earth, claiming to be a god?
Could
Are
be
you
whatever.
just
You know.
hallucinating?
Are you?
Like, yeah,
Did somebody slip you some drugs you didn't know about?
Are you dead?
It's like the only thing you can really be sure of is that you exist.
Yeah.
Can you even be sure of that?
Well, I think therefore I am, I guess.
I think you can be skeptical about anything if you try hard enough.
That's true. And that's
Yeah.
I don't know what it gets you,
skepticism.
but
Well, and you
do
can
it.
you just base your confidence level on your experience and your evidence, right? So I feel like I exist. I have feelings. I have thoughts. I feel like I have a body. I do things. I'm pretty sure that I exist in some form or another.
You exist enough that you should probably do things that are in your best interest. And
Right.
try
I'm
to make
still
your
going to
life
go to
better.
work. I'm still going to pay my bills. I'm still going to eat food because that corresponds with my reality. I don't know if I'm an AI program, perhaps, and there's no way I could know that. Is there?
I think they do a better job programming me if that was the case. But
They could
Find out how to make
give
AI
them some
and they do
feedback.
this.
I mean,
Okay, here's another statement. A statement is true if everyone agrees on it.
No.
There's nothing that everyone agrees on in the first place.
that's a good point.
What about your whole community? If your whole community, what if all your family agrees? Biden's the
That's
best
a tall ask.
president.
Can we find something that everyone in this room agrees on before we get?
I think we
guess
can all agree that we don't
we
really
could
agree.
we could go really general on things.
That's our
like
only
that,
thing.
but-
Because, like,
Agree
I
to
don't know.
disagree.
what does everyone, like, it could just be in your family and you can have
Yeah,
But as soon as you meet one other person, it's immediately proven wrong.
but don't you hear people say, well, we all agree on this. We all think that we're going to vote on this way, on this issue, or something. That's where it comes into play. Where,
That can change, though.
yeah.
Because can truth be something that easily changes?
Depends on what the truth is, right? Does
I-
it?
Well, like, I imagine if, like, from the definition of truth, like, a truth would be, I don't know, I guess like a law, but in a less this world kind of
Yeah.
saying, you know?
Can something be true to you, but not true to Carl, who hasn't said anything yet?
I think,
Are there two different versions of truth?
I think
If something is true for one, isn't it automatically true for the other, or is it not necessarily?
it
What do you
can be
think?
kind of both in that sense, too. Because, like, you can
What do
have,
you mean?
like, your own truth, but, like, no matter how much you find, like, the sky to be purple, that doesn't,
Mhm.
that's a hard one to say, though, because
Sometimes it
and whatever, it
changes,
depends,
yeah.
but, like, if you were to say, like, I believe, and this is the truth, that the earth is flat, no matter how much you think the earth is flat,
Mhm.
that won't make it a truth just because it's your truth. You know? Is that making sense?
Can you have? Does that make it true? If you believe the Earth is flat, does that make it actually flat?
Like, if you went up and you went to the moon, and you lived on the light side of the moon your whole life, and
Yeah.
you're like, the moon is only bright. That doesn't make it a truth, because it is two colors. You know?
Yeah,
Like, you get both the
right.
light and the dark. But to you, that is your truth, because that's your experience. That's your reality, and that's where you live. And
Right.
unless you get out of that, that's all you'll believe.
So, are you using the word truth and perception interchangeably?
I don't think it is quite interchangeably, because
What
again,
about, like,
when you know from the moon,
Belief.
from the entire like grand scale,
Mm-hmm.
the truth of the moon is that it
That's what
has
you're
both
saying.
a light and a dark side.
Mhm.
But to that person, that reality they live in, that second kind of truth, I guess, if we're going
Uh-huh.
off the word truth, that second truth
Yeah.
would be, I guess, theirs.
No, I think you're right. I think that what you're saying, right, is like they're like by the definition of truth we established before, where it's like it's the best possible guess you have based on all the evidence you have. Like, yeah, that would be like the truth to them because they're doing everything in their power to figure out whether the moon is light or not, right?
Yeah.
And that's just the best guess they can do.
Or what if they're not doing everything in their power to figure it out, and they're just insisting on people who say the moon is dark are wrong, or people who say there's more than one brightness to the moon are absolutely incorrect.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't invite them to the conversation if that's what they're doing. But
I guess in that sense, no, I don't think you can have a personal truth, because the truth should be,
So
again,
there is an
universally-
objective truth,
yeah.
whether they see the other side or any other perspectives
Yeah,
or
you
not.
can see
But-
nothing at all, and still there is a truth.
What do you think, Carl?
Yeah, Carl.
What's your thought on truth?
What's my thought on truth? I'm a little tired.
You have no
That's
thoughts
the
right
truth.
now.
I've just been like,
That
I don't
is-
know,
Is that your
listening in.
truth, that you're tired?
Is that is my truth that I'm tired.
Objectively,
Is
I
it
can
your
say you are tired.
Opinion? Is it your feeling? Are all of these interchangeable words with truth? For you, presently? Or is that too many words?
Is feeling interchangeable with truth for me?
Mm-hmm. You feel tired.
I think
That's a true
that,
statement.
That, yes.
Because
Yeah, I feel it.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, that's how you know that you're tired.
and this one is tired because they're out.
I was actually asleep for
Yeah, that's good.
Ground floor is.
That's your truth, man. Live it. Live your truth. Okay. Next one. You guys ready for another one, or are you getting bored?
Alright, what about when
Yep.
Trump says many people are saying this? Is that true? He goes like, he'll say like, the masks don't work, they don't do anything. Many people are saying this. Like,
Yes.
Many people.
Yeah, what about that? Does that make it true because many people say that?
That's what. You know, many people are saying it came from a lab in Wuhan. Many people are saying it.
Yeah,
Think about it.
think about it. And then he just leaves it at that. And that,
Right.
that's like one of the logical fallacies, right? The appeal to popularity or the appeal to that, and that's well, like this. The a straight statement is true if everyone agrees,
Yeah.
or many people in this case.
Many people are saying it.
Yeah. Okay. This one is kind of interesting, and I'm curious what you all think about this. A strong belief, even without action, can change external reality. So if you believe something strong enough and hard enough, you don't act on it, but your belief alone is enough to change something in external reality.
So you don't even like talk
Strong
about
disagree
it?
by Carl.
This is like you don't even say it out loud.
Strong belief.
Kind of belief. Okay. I mean, no, I don't think that's how that works.
Strong disagree.
Yeah.
What about the placebo effect? Is that relevant to this?
I mean,
That is kind of.
It depends on what the thing is, maybe.
No, I think that's a great point because if you just
Yeah.
believe that the medicine works, like, and you
Then
don't
go-
do anything, like you're not doing any other action, right? You're just taking. The
Well, would
medicine.
taking the medicine be considered an action, maybe?
But it's
So this
not
is strong.
medicine.
What if you
Yeah.
believe you're going to cure yourself of cancer? You don't do any. You don't take any medicine. You don't go to the doctor because you can universe it
I
to
think
your.
it's different with your own body too, because your body does react to like how your mind is thinking.
Sorry.
Which is
'cause, like-
external reality.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
like, there was actually a test that someone did. I might be super wrong in what I'm saying, but like they had people touch poison ivy who
Mhm.
were told that it wasn't poison ivy and they didn't get any kind of reaction, and then those people who did know it was poison ivy, they did get a rash.
That's an interesting. Yeah, because that is definitely their belief. They believe it's not going to cause a reaction.
But is that changing the plant or just their body? And I think it lies in their body because your mind reacts to different things different ways. But like,
And that'd be interesting.
But I mean, I agree with Felix that your body is an external reality. Like,
Right.
if you
Yeah.
can change your body just by believing
And that
something.
that would be totally measurable too. Like, you could look at a rash in the place where you touch the poison ivy. That would be measurable photograph of it. Like, you could show it to 1,000 people and they'd be like, yeah, that's a rash, and it looks like a poison ivy rash. And it could be repeated over and over however many times.
but would that be able to change, like, if I believe this can right here, if I were to say that, like, I believe this can will, like, explode, it's not going to, you know? I feel like it's different,
Maybe?
like, with your own senses, because, like,
Yeah, I guess
you're,
that's the
you're
real
connected
The
to
power
of
your
the
body.
mind.
You're not connected to, like, a table or, like,
Right.
thing. Right, like
ground floor is
at
not
that
me.
point- at that point, is thinking and believing things, is it even like a philosophical action? Like, you're using your body. Is it not, like, is it actually different than, like,
kind
going
of-
on a run to improve your cardio?
So belief is an action, maybe.
I kind of think so. I kind of think you're doing something with your brain, and it's, like, affecting your physical reality.
Well, okay, could you heal somebody else's cancer by
No.
believing it?
No.
Because you're not connected to them, like, physically.
Could you... Yeah. But the power of placebo is a real
Yeah.
documented thing.
Yeah, because again, you're connected to yourself. So if you make your brain think that like you don't have cancer anymore, I don't have any proof of that actually happening, but
Yes.
it's possible, I guess. Like,
Yeah, well,
you know,
sure.
Why not?
Well, there's spontaneous remission of cancer. How would we know if it was your belief that caused the remission or just
Just whatever.
biology? I don't know if that could be measured. But that's why I think that was interesting. And I think also, like, the law of attraction, a lot of people are into the law of attraction. If I believe I'm going to make $1 million by the end of the year, I'm just going to sit around and kind of wait for it. But I believe it strong.
I think, like, because I am religious, so, like, I don't know, I believe in God and prayer and all that stuff. So,
Mhm.
like, in that sense, I don't think it would be me doing it. So, like, my own personal desire wouldn't be what changes anything. Like,
But
if
that would be a belief.
Yeah, but that's
And
a
it
belief.
could
It's a belief in a God, not in the
affect.
change, you know? Because, like, my belief wouldn't be able to change, like, somebody's health. But if I believe in something else that can change that,
Mhm.
then perhaps that could have been the cause. But I don't think I could direct it exactly to, like, say a prayer that I made, you know?
So would it be your belief itself that changes anything?
No,
It's the
I-
action.
It's more of a hope for.
Yeah.
That's an interesting line of philosophy to think about. Like,
Right. I believe in this external authority that does have the power to change things. Versus my thought power is changing things
Yeah.
directly.
And, like, with that law of attraction thing, it's, like, most of the time, from what I could tell, it's, like, a call to the universe in a way. Like, it's some kind of higher power, though it's not necessarily God. It's, like with karma, like, you put it out into the universe, and the universe gives it back. That kind of idea.
Mm-hmm.
well, I think a lot of belief systems like that are not necessarily like there's not necessarily belief in like a higher power or God. It's like everyone has souls, and the souls go through this cycle. There's not necessarily like somebody in charge who does this. It's just like how nature works. And
Yeah.
You could,
Mm-hmm.
like so it's. I mean, there's different takes on it.
I guess in that way, maybe it's like a law that just happens. Because you can
Yeah.
still rely on the law without it being your cause.
Sometimes it's like reincarnation, that just the cycle. Is that
Yeah.
what you mean?
Yeah, and there's millions of variations of
Right, right.
these ideas. So.
Thousands of different belief systems that answer these kind of questions.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to study. Okay, agree or disagree? Someone can be certain something is true, but still be mistaken. That kind of goes to the moon thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
they were certain about this is how it is.
I've been that person many times. So.
I've been that person too, yeah. Does anyone think that's not true, though? You can be certain something is true and still be mistaken?
It's hard not to say that it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, again, if it can be proven wrong, then it can be mistaken. And there's
Right.
infinite possibilities out there. It's hard to hold on to one.
Although you do hear people say, I'm 100% positive that this is the case. And then
But are you?
But you
Bring in
might be
philosophy and
mistaken.
You're immediately wrong.
Right.
Hypotheticals.
By
and you're
definition.
wrong.
Okay. Oh, this is interesting too. I liked Melanie's answer on this one. Believing something that is false feels just like believing something that is true. Can you tell the difference in believing something false and believing something true by the way it feels? Does believing something true feel the same as believing something false? So think back to a time when you did believe something false. Like, I'm not going to say SANTA, but like, did we all believe in that at one time or another? I did.
I'm not sure
Yeah.
if I did.
I did enough.
I feel
Yeah.
like I probably did, but I don't remember like. Off the
You don't
top of my
remember
head.
like
Yeah.
learning that, oh, I believe
I was
something.
very gullible, so I'm sure I did at some point. I just don't have any specific memories of it.
You figured it out young.
I feel like, I don't know, I think initially it can feel the same. But, like, I think
Mhm.
with experience, again, it's like you come to realize certain things don't feel right. And, like with Santa, I don't remember an exact moment, like, aha, wow, it's not real, that's crazy. No, you build up to it. You got older and you learned more.
Yeah. What if you put yourself into that mindset when you did believe? Do you remember that time?
Probably felt
When
the
you were a
same.
believer? Yeah. Did you have any feelings like this? I guess once you start questioning, is this true? Then you might have weird feelings, right?
I think different beliefs can feel different ways, and something that influences the way that a belief feels is like your confidence level, like you were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean?
Which, like, you might, like, some people might say that false beliefs feel different because, like, they deep down, like, aren't as confident as they, like, want to be or something.
Yeah, I super agree. That was what I was thinking also.
But you don't know that it's false at the time.
Yeah.
No, but you can have a variable confidence, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
even if you think something is true and you're like 75% sure, that's going to feel different than something you feel 100% sure on.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So it can be either way.
It's
right?
kind of a
Like,
personal.
Could you be up in the high
line.
90s to 100 on something that's absolutely false? Like
Yeah,
you ask, go to a
absolutely.
kindergarten class and say, is the tooth fairy real? Like, how
Yeah.
sure are you?
I think it's your certainty that makes the feeling different, not the actual truthfulness of it.
Right.
Yeah, super agree.
Yeah.
But if, okay, let's say you have two beliefs. One of them's false, and one of them is, based in reality and truth, and corresponds best with reality, right? And you think they're both accurate at the same, 95%. Like you're really, like I really think Australia is real, and I really think I have Diet Coke in the refrigerator.
I would put a lot of money on Australia being real. That's like my confidence. I would bet.
Wait,
My
both of those are
entire life
pretty
savings.
true, actually.
If they were all leveled at 95%, I think they would feel the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But you wouldn't, how could you tell if you were mistaken on any of those that you're 95% on? Is there a way, I guess this is the next question, is there a way you could test those beliefs to see, to maybe increase your confidence or decrease, or just make sure they align with reality as closely as possible?
Depends on the thing.
Depends on the thing, is that what you said?
Yeah.
I think, like, it's kind of like, what do they lead to? You know?
What do they lead to?
Like, if you believe serving other people is a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
the more you do it, the more you'll find out if it's a good thing or not. It's like, oh, I believe kicking plants will help plants. And then you can kick them at a time. You're like, oh, that killed a plant.
Yeah.
And that's really bad. So maybe
Now I have a
shouldn't do
dead
that.
plant, and I liked that plant.
Yeah, and I think, like, it is a lot of trial and error, like, finding these, like, truths, and, like, a lot of it does just lie, and, like, does it do more harm than good?
Mm-hmm. Like you could take the claim, doing nice things for people makes me happy, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And you could test that. I could do nice things for people for a month and see how I feel, and do nothing for people for a month and compare the two, or something like that, I guess.
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just situational. Like, you can test a lot of things. Like I think a lot of commonly held strong beliefs can be tested,
Mm-hmm.
but some things you can't. Like I'm never going to be able to realistically test whether or not gravity exists. I can do some third grade level science experiments, I'm sure.
Measure the
That's about
speed
where
of
I
something
tap out
dropping.
about. So I kind of just gotta do the best I can.
Yeah, you could dive into the research material of people who have done more extensive research, couldn't you? Like, get into
Could.
physics if you
Yeah.
were really interested in.
I mean, we only have so much brain power
Testing
to spend
gravity.
on this stuff and time.
Yeah.
So maybe we can't do that with every belief we have.
Especially since stuff like gravity and, I don't know, metaphysics,
Yeah.
it's taken generations.
Yeah.
Decades.
Right. It's literally like centuries of work built on top of each other to get to the point where we are now.
Which is in itself really cool. Like,
Yeah.
Just the fact that, like,
How
You
did
can
they
test
get to
things
that
and-
point? Yeah.
I don't know,
It's
just
pretty-
never close the door on changing it, but you have to keep moving. It's
Right.
Like I said earlier.
And if you were like holding this remote control and you let go of it and all of a sudden it just floats midair,
That'd be wild.
You'd be like, okay, this is a magic trick, this is, I'm hallucinating, or gravity stopped working, or, something's weird. Like, you have a way to know when gravity is not functioning the way you understanding it, and you could double check, right? So that'd be like a way of showing that gravity isn't functioning according to your evidence and understanding. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of?
It's like if you were to put someone from like if you were to take a toddler and shove them on the moon, and suddenly the
Yeah.
gravity's changed, they're like, oh, this is wrong.
This is different.
This is new.
This is a weird experience. When should we change our mind? So, agree or disagree? I often investigate beliefs that do not match my own. So this would be like a way I could figure out if I'm wrong about something. Because I like me personally, I want to know if if I hold a belief that is not correct, or if I'm mistaken about something, I would like to know. So do you guys often investigate beliefs that do not match your own?
I do, yeah. Spend
Yeah.
maybe too much time on some things that I know I don't believe already.
Yeah.
Maybe don't need to spend more time Googling.
I feel like sometimes, like, I reach a point where, like, I'm kind of done looking at the other side.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably dangerous to, like, get too far into that and, like, be closed off. But sometimes,
Yeah, do you ever like start researching something and you're like, you change your mind, you go to the other side, and then you like read something else, and then you go back to, oh, I'm convinced over here. Like I've done that before.
I think it's good to do both sides.
To check both sides.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something that's, I don't know, big or important, I think.
Yeah, I mean, my take is like I think the less you think about it in terms of sides, the better,
Mm-hmm.
because
Well, that's true.
A
Like
lot
if
of
you do
things-
Democrat versus Republican or something.
right, and it's like actually there's like so many more ways to look at a problem,
Mhm.
and you will find, especially if you're looking at stuff online, you will find things that are divided into sides, and it's like okay, actually there's there's more perspectives you can look at here, and you won't find them if you Google things in terms of
Yeah.
like this ideology or that ideology.
Especially with like the Google algorithms and the like YouTube, if you start looking at videos, they'll just feed you more of what you're
It does. Too.
already looking for.
Just
Yeah.
similar things.
Yeah. So it kind of you have to like seek out the opposing opinions, or sometimes actively.
Which is hard.
Yeah.
Especially like if you don't want to like spend a ton of time on it,
Right.
or like I don't know, just like if you're having an end of the day and you hear about something that happened on the news and you're like, oh, I really should look into that 'cause it's important.
That sounds interesting. That's
And you're like, but how much do I care? It's like weighing
Right.
like how much does it cost
yeah,
me, I guess.
and there's like lots of different things in our lives that affect our lives to different levels.
yeah, you can't look into everything.
Yeah.
So
Like, what kind of socks should I buy? Like, you could research for years, or you could just pick one
what's
eventually.
the best sock brand?
But really, that doesn't impact your life. That decision's not that important at the end of the day.
this could be fake, but I think I heard, like, at some point in my life that, like, there's, like, a study or something where people were, like, shown the other side of, like, there's, like, two groups or something, and when they
Mhm.
talked to each other, they had opposing opinions, but, like, after they talked to the people, like, who believed differently from them, like, they were more entrenched in their beliefs afterwards.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
That
I've
can
seen
happen too.
a study that
Yeah.
talks about that too.
So, I don't know.
And that's what happens in debate a lot of times. If you debate with somebody about something you disagree with, you're throwing facts, they're throwing facts, and
I think that's why it's hard to have like debates. Like a
Yeah.
conversation is a different thing. Like this right here, I
Mhm.
think it's great because like I don't know, we're all talking and like we've come to like conclusions that we all can agree on.
yeah.
And like I think it's okay to have disagreements on things.
And we all disagree about things. We decided that in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Like-
And it's just a matter of like finding what works best. And
Yeah.
trying to move forward.
What were you gonna say, Felix?
yeah.
I just kind of what you were saying is a good point, that, like, maybe looking at the other side isn't necessarily the best way to, like, try to keep an open mind. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Like when you frame something like a debate with two sides, now it's a conflict. Now it's a
That's
fight.
true.
And so when
And there's a
people-
winner and a loser.
Exactly. So obviously, I mean, it kind of obviously it feels obvious to me right now that people are going to be more entrenched in their beliefs coming away from that, right? Because they were in a fight, they were in a conflict, and
And if you go into defense
You know?
mode, you feel like you have to defend your position,
yeah,
which means you
exactly.
have to hold on tighter to it, right? And like stand up for it.
Yeah.
as
You're not
opposed to
really in a
just,
frame
like,
of mind
having-
to change your mind. Like,
Right, you're not open to, like, maybe they have really great arguments. Maybe they're have more objective reality on their side than you do, and you just don't realize it. And now you're not going to know because you're not in a listening, learning frame of mind. Okay. Carl, this one's for you, man.
What?
It is beneficial to find out when I'm wrong about something. Do you agree with that?
What?
When you're wrong about something, it's beneficial. Do you want to know if you're wrong?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's a strong agree.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like you learn more,
Uh-huh.
or you feel that you learn more when you're wrong. Like you're correcting your belief of something.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's.
Do you have an example of any time that you can think of offhand that you've been wrong about something and you're like, oh, now I know better?
I don't know. It just happens like every day.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I
How
don't know.
about-
It feels good that I don't know you're learning more.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Have you ever, like, did you take algebra
Yeah.
in high school? Like, I took algebra a couple years ago. I was doing the problem wrong over and over and over, and then I got a tutor, and they're like, no, you do it like this. And I was completely wrong about the way I was doing it, and my understanding of the whole thing. And so, like, that's an obvious example that affects your grades or whatever. But it's beneficial in that sense, especially.
Yeah.
But would there be any benefit in discovering that you were wrong about Australia existing? Like, well, let's say, hypothetically, it does not exist. For real. None of us have ever been there.
Wild.
I don't know.
I
feel
don't
like,
know. It doesn't really impact our lives, but...
But I feel like having like a broader like base of knowledge is like kind of cool.
Like,
it kind of feels good.
it's better to
That you-
know than not know.
The truth, like I guess the truth.
Yeah. So if you're in the Truman Show, did you see that movie?
Yeah.
Would you be the guy trying to get out? Like Truman?
Yeah.
And they're just all trying to get him to stay in, accept this reality. Yeah,
Definitely.
I like that movie. I think it's fun. How about you, Samantha? Is it beneficial to find out when you're wrong about something?
I think it's always beneficial. Because, like, you should always just be trying to improve, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you're stuck doing something wrong over and over again, then
Right.
why not do it better? And in a way that'll, like, benefit you better.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone disagree with that?
I disagree with that.
You.
Wait, what was the claim again?
Oh, it is. It's beneficial to find out when I'm wrong about something. What do you disagree with?
I don't think that's necessarily true, but I think it often is. Like,
Can you think of an example when it wouldn't be beneficial?
Yes.
Okay.
For example, somebody has cancer and so they don't know it, but then they get testing done and then they find out that they have cancer. And
Okay.
so they go down a lot of treatment and spend a lot of money to try to fix it, but then so their final last days are just spent doing chemo and suffering a lot, being broke, all that, and then it didn't impact, it didn't help anything, it didn't improve their cancer, it didn't make their life any better, just
So it wasn't beneficial.
I guess, like, in that sense, would it have been better to tell them the chemo wouldn't have worked?
Yeah.
Because in
Yeah,
that
that's a
case,
good
they
one.
were wrong about trying to get treatment. Because they could have done something else with their time.
It's it's a common fantasy or sci-fi thing, knowing the day and time and way you're going
That
to
you're going
die.
to die.
Most people probably be better off without that.
Yeah, what if your day is tomorrow that you know you're gonna die?
So,
But then tomorrow comes and goes, and now it's Sunday and nothing happened.
well, then the witch lied to you. I don't know.
You can be glad you're not
Is
dead.
it beneficial to know that you were wrong? Yeah, I guess in that scenario, because you're still alive.
The more realistic scenario, and not that Felix's wasn't realistic, I meant my witch telling the future comment was not realistic. Another realistic one, I think, is just if people are too emotional to handle a certain truth at the moment. Like, speaking for myself, I can be a very sore loser sometimes, but like, I need to know at some point that I'm wrong. But there are definitely times where like, just like, give me a minute.
Yeah.
I'm feeling very strongly right now.
I'll accept it later. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, I guess ultimately I'm saying it's like, it's better in the long run to know that you're wrong.
What if you have a really strong belief in something like astrology, and like you wake up in the morning, you check your charts and your signs, and you like make decisions based on this, and it kind of guides your life. It's like your guiding force. Would there be a benefit in finding out that maybe it doesn't work?
I guess it depends on how you're treating astrology in your life. Like, I mean, I think certain beliefs can hold people back from doing what they actually want to do. Like, for example, if you believe that staying at this job that's really shitty is going to make your life better, and you're wrong about that. I think I kind of lost the lead. What was the question?
You're basing.
Okay. Yeah, astrology.
I'm assuming in this scenario that astrology is false. Like I'm just making that assumption.
Okay. No, I remember where I was going.
And you're
with it now.
basing a lot of your decisions on it. I'm not saying it is false. I'm just.
So astrology is something you can treat a bunch of different ways, and it could be treated like a shitty job, where like you have things you want to do, things that you think about doing, but like it's holding you back. You see like, oh, that's not like this person is a Virgo, so I shouldn't date them.
Yes.
Something like
yes.
that.
A lot of people do that.
And that might be harmful to you, so it might be beneficial. But also, you could be like 30% confident in astrology being real, and you just kind of like see stuff, and you're like,
It's kind of fun.
That is kind of true. That Virgo is kind of like that.
That kind of does match up there.
I think that's how people
Yeah.
treat it.
Well, I was talking to this girl at work who really strongly believes in astrology, and she was going to go home to the East Coast where her family is. She was going to visit it was around Christmas time. She has had this trip planned for months, and she's saving up for it. She got the days off of work. She woke up that morning, checked her chart, her astrology chart, and it said, do not travel today. She canceled her whole trip. She didn't see her family for Christmas. She stayed home because of this chart. So that's a big decision to make based on something that, she must have been pretty confident that it was true in order to make that kind of choice in her life.
I guess, like, when it comes to, like, a mortal life, like, if you believe in astrology, and it's been, like, I feel like, as long as it's not, like, harmful to you,
Would you
like, if you could prove it wrong, then yeah, you should know that it's wrong. But, like, I can't prove astrology wrong, to be honest.
Should you accept anything you can't prove wrong, or should you?
Again,
I
don't
can't
feel like
prove.
it has to be either way. It's like you can always be doubting something, but like it's not wrong to be taking action in what you believe as long as you're willing to be open to alternatives.
But like the burden of proof, like with astrology, it falls on the claim that it is real or whatever. Like you just assume that it.
How could you prove it wrong?
Yeah, like how would you?
There's no way to prove it
yeah,
wrong,
like
is there?
I wouldn't know. It could be real.
Right.
Like, sure, I'm Christian, but whatever. I couldn't prove astrology wrong. It could be right.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I get super into astrology.
What about tarot cards? Can you prove psychics? Can you prove any of those things wrong? So
I mean,
that
tarot cards are not really equivalent here, but
Yeah, but like as a general.
How much
grand
confidence
scheme.
and weight are you putting on it to make decisions in your life? On something
I mean,
that can't be.
It's a different thing, but we don't need to get into that. So
Okay,
I think
yeah,
you
you're
can
right,
prove- You can prove individual astrology sources wrong. You can, look at somebody's writing process that they upload to their astrology app that everybody sees and be like, oh, this person's just making it up. This is just coming from one person that's writing the astrology article.
Does that prove it wrong though?
I mean, I think so. If I just find out that one person's just kind of making stuff up and putting it on like a blog, that doesn't seem like the truth to me. But I guess, yeah. I mean,
It could
it's
be. It
kinda-
doesn't prove it wrong.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like the grand idea behind it could be true, but this one definitely is not true.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. It's like,
Yeah.
astrology is something that you can get from a bunch of different sources, and I think anyone who believes in astrology would agree with me that some of them are not true.
How could you differentiate the true ones in quotes versus the false ones in quotes?
And somebody into astrology would have a better answer for you than me, since my criteria is what I've already outlined, and that might invalidate
Yeah.
quite a few of them, if not all of them.
Yeah, it gets fuzzy, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
'Cause can
with
you
things like
disprove
that, right? It's like it's
anything?
about trusted sources. So like Mormons value the current leader of the church over the Pope, right?
Right.
They're-
So they're going to put more weight on the prophet than the
Yeah.
Pope, the Catholicism guy. Yeah. Is that the proper terminology?
That one dude that nobody's heard of. The
Hat.
Pope, you know.
You know.
Mr. Vatican. That's what they call
Can you disprove either one of them? That's an interesting. Can you disprove Islam? Can you disprove Scientology?
If it's not enough
Can you disprove?
proof to say this person made it up, if that doesn't disprove a religion, then no, you can't disprove any of them. And like, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. I think you can't like really prove truly that somebody like was lying when they said that they had divine revelation or that,
Right.
That's kind of what I was like saying earlier. Like the way I think about it is like if you're making a claim that like there isn't a lot of evidence for, like you have to prove it. Like the burden of
Yeah.
proof falls on you.
I
Otherwise, I'm not
would
gonna
agree.
believe it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when you frame it as like, how do you disprove it? That's like the opposite of what you're saying.
Right. Like you look at a court system, you don't prove someone's innocence. You have the burden of proof to show them guilty, right? To have enough evidence to convict them of the crime. And you're not saying they didn't do it. They might completely be guilty, but there's not enough evidence to convict them of that crime, right? So they're not saying a not guilty verdict is not saying they're innocent. It's
Right.
just saying there's not enough evidence to show
I mean, this specific
Guilt.
crime they're being charged
of
too,
that
right?
specific, yeah, and
There
nothing
might
else.
totally be enough evidence in the trial to prove another crime, and they're just not being charged with that crime. So
So it's irrelevant
yeah,
to the case completely. So the claim would be Joe murdered Jim.
One of the two or
Yeah.
both.
So maybe Joe did murder this other person, but there's not enough evidence to convict them. But my burden of proof is on providing the evidence, right?
you're accusing them of murder. You're
Because
making a
I'm saying
claim.
you did this, so I'm
That's what
gonna
Felix is saying.
present. Yeah,
The
so
person making the claim has to prove it.
yeah. That's what you're saying, Felix?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the person saying, well, you can't disprove it, so I'm gonna keep believing it until you.
Yeah,
Can
which
disprove
I mean,
it.
You know, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, with both crimes and religion.
Yeah, and I've talked to people who that's all their reasoning is. Well, you can't prove it's not true, so till you can prove that unicorns don't exist, I will believe in unicorns.
To that same extent, you can't really prove that it is either, you know.
Right. So the burden of proof would lie on the person saying, unicorns are real.
prove or you're
And just because you can't prove they're not real doesn't mean they are real. It's not. Just because A doesn't equal B. I don't know. You can put it mathematically if you're smarter than me, which I am not. Okay. Any other thoughts you want to add?
What was the prompt again? I've been talking for a bit.
Oh, the last one was, it's beneficial to find out when I'm wrong about something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the last one for real. I will abandon a belief if I discover reliable information that falsifies it.
I hope so, but I don't know.
It's hard to say 100%.
Yeah. And it kind of relates to being beneficial if you find out you're wrong.
And I think it's a lot to do with like trying to find out for yourself, and like I don't know, it is a gradual change, you know.
Yeah,
like the more
it
you
can
continue to learn,
Mm-hmm.
the more you can understand better. And I think just like overall trying to become a better person and trying to I don't know, understand who you are, I
Mhm.
think that matters overall.
I think that's a huge deal. And I think back to like when I was learning about evolution, because I didn't used to believe that evolution was real. I just was a creationist because that's what I was taught. That's what I learned. So learning more, like I had to abandon that belief as I learned more convincing, reliable evidence that seemed to have so much evidence. And so I changed my belief on that. But
Yeah, I think you touched on a really good thing about like finding yourself. Like certain beliefs are tied up in
Mhm.
our sense of identity, right? So changing those, even if you know because of proof you're presented with that like that belief is wrong, actually making the jump to start believing in the new evidence can be difficult
Right.
because you don't just have to start believing that thing, you also have to answer the question of how do I, like, who am I now? How does that
Right.
like, part of myself fit going forward?
yeah, if you bring it back to like the astrology girl who believes in astrology, makes all her decisions based on this, changes her life, who she's going to date, what school to go to, and all of the things. And what if her whole family also does the same things, and then obviously the people she dates and person she ends up marrying is probably going to be like she's surrounded by people who also share this belief. So if there's a big ticket consequence for her to let go of that, even if she realizes I don't really have a good reason to hold on to this anymore. But there could be, who am I without this? How do I make decisions without checking my charts every day?
Yeah, and even if there's not like a physical consequence, right? Like maybe her family doesn't care what she believes either way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's kind of inescapable, like the emotional consequences and thinking about like, I did all these things in the past. And humans are just kind of hardwired to feel like, feel things about their past decisions, like think about
Yes.
them. If you have to like admit that past decisions you made were mistakes, people don't want to do that.
It's really hard.
I think you should try and also like be glad for those mistakes to an extent, you know?
Yeah, and see what you
Because
can
like they
learn
still
from them,
built
maybe.
you to where you are.
Mhm.
Like there were things
What
that
if you
I've
don't
done in the
like where you
past
are?
that like
Yeah.
then you
What
can
if you
use
realize
this
that
as
where you are
going
sucks?
forward, you know?
And you hate it.
Like there are negatives and good in all things.
Yeah.
There's a duality to everything. Like a tree is not good, it's not bad. A person's not good, it's
Okay,
not
but
bad.
what if you
So-
see a lottery
Much more
ticket
complicated.
on the ground? It's perfect, it's clean, there's no COVID particles on it. And you pick it up and
'Cause you
you're
checked.
like, oh wow, this is like for today. That's the lottery that's happening today. That's cool. And then you throw it in the trash can and go home. And then later on the news you see that it's the winning number. And you could have won the lottery if you just taken it home instead of throwing it in the trash.
Yeah, but like even if you had
That's
won
like the good
lottery,
side of
like-
that. That's only a bad side. That's a reasonable thing to do. I don't think I would like take a lottery ticket home.
I mean, you could argue that people winning the lottery don't have better lives and often
Yeah.
spend it poorly and stuff, but
Well, let's change the hypothetical to be something that you would like.
It's
to
like
have
you
happen
can.
to you. I would like to win the lottery, but you can.
Everyone wants to.
It's not so much money that it's life ruining. It's just enough to, have a comfortable life.
Yeah, it's just the $3 billion lottery, whatever.
You just net like 10 million.
I guess it's
You'd
like
be set for a while.
you can acknowledge that mistake without letting it ruin who you are. Like, you can understand what was wrong in that situation and be like, okay, let's not do that next time.
Yeah.
And then keep going. And you're like, hey, but that also made me a little bit better because now I know not to do that. Like, next time,
Yes.
sure, I'll pick up the lottery ticket. But
Well,
I don't know if you
learning
made
from
any,
your
like,
mistakes,
like,
right?
I don't know if you made any real mistake there.
yeah,
right? Like,
I
you
mean, the
couldn't
mistake
go
was
either
not
way.
taking
Yeah.
home money, but
Right.
in general, like
You
if
didn't
you
know.
used to bully people, like say that for instance, and you go on and you graduate college and you're like, man, I am a horrible person and like all these people have been hurt because of me. Like holding on to that forever doesn't do you or anyone else any good. It's a matter
I
of
see what you're
turning
saying,
that
yeah.
energy into something that's beneficial for yourself and for others. It's like you can't dwell on it. You have to acknowledge what you've done and become better from where you were. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a really
I
good
guess my
point.
point was just that there are choices I think that are 100% bad to make. Right?
Yeah.
There's not a thing you gained from that choice. I think bullying people is another good example of that. I don't think there's any good that came of that really.
yeah.
What made
I
you
don't know,
feel
I
better
think
at the
there can be
time?
something good that comes out of it, even if it's not, even if it doesn't outweigh the bad. Like there still could be
Bullying
some
people
small.
specifically, or
Yeah,
Well,
like
because you could learn, maybe you feel really guilty about it, and then in the future, you don't do that, or maybe you made a friend doing it. Who knows? It could be overall a really bad thing, but maybe there's one good thing about it.
Well, can you learn from any negative situation? Is there something to gain? Isn't there always? Is there anything that is 100% negative
yeah,
that you wouldn't learn anything from? That you're not.
I think so.
I think
I could come up with a lot of horrible examples if we're really going there.
but I know with some even Holocaust survivors, there have been some. I don't know. They would never say the Holocaust is a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but
You're
you
like,
can
I'm sure
learn
glad I
anything,
went
would
through
their
that.
life really have been worse if they didn't suffer through it?
Again, that goes back to the regret thing, though. If you regret what happened, you're just gonna keep being like, oh, it should have been this, it should have been that. But that's not beneficial to you either. It's not gonna help you.
If you get hung up on
holding
the
to
past.
it, you know?
I mean, letting go of things is different than learning from them or trying to find a positive spin, right? You can allow yourself to heal and move on from things without,
Yeah.
acknowledging that was just a bad thing that happened.
But I guess,
and there's nothing
Yes.
Are there experiences, if you could take out all the negative in your life, would you do it?
I mean, that's too vague, so no.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are definitely things that I would remove, no guilt, no regret. I would remove negative things from my life.
Have you heard where people say you are abused, but now look at what a wonderful person you are because of this abuse.
The abuse
Aren't
did
you
not change you, though. It's you did
right?
that.
And then it's trying to put this positive spin. Aren't you glad you were abused? That now it made you into this wonderful, kind, caring human.
Yeah, that's
Wouldn't
what
you
I'm
rather
pushing back
not
on.
be
I don't
abused
like
and
that.
be a little bit of a bitch, or I don't know.
I guess I can see that, yeah, but it brings me
There's
back to
there's
again,
a toxic positivity that some people can put on these negative things that happen.
I completely agree that there is this toxic positivity stuff, but I'm just saying that there could, you don't need to focus on the positive thing necessarily, but there likely was at least one positive thing. It doesn't mean you need to focus on it or even acknowledge it. I'm just saying it's not as
Yeah.
black and white.
and you can be sad about things. I'm not saying that you have to only be like, oh, see, but you grew
Be
from this.
depressed all the time.
Like- If you were abused, that's horrible, and it should never have happened.
Right.
But it doesn't mean look back on it and discredit the strength that you had in that moment.
What if you didn't have any?
Then you had something else. You stayed here, and that's good enough, honestly.
Not everybody stayed here.
And they were.
We can't really talk to them.
Yeah.
To be fair.
I would ask
They're not
them,
here
but I
to
can't.
comment.
I know people who have been abused,
Yeah.
and it's really sad, and it's been people that are close to me. And it
Mhm.
hurts, it really does. And
Yeah.
I would never say that, their abuse made them better people, but I think there can be opportunities to grow in all things, no matter what the cause was or the necessity of it. Like, if you go to the DMV and you have to wait for hours, that sucks.
I need to
but
do that.
like, but maybe there's someone there who you can talk to and make their day a little better. Or like, there's a penny on the
Yeah.
ground, you pick it up, and you go, that's kind of cool. Great, now I have to wait another 2 hours.
If you're in a garbage situation, you can try to make the best of it.
Yeah,
Is
it's
kind of
just
what
doing
you're saying.
the best with what you have and not regretting who you once were.
But not letting abuse continue or
Yeah.
tolerating abuse or
Yeah.
when you have control of it.
Just like
you
trying
find
to
yourself-
become better in every step of the way. And if you go back, that's cool too, because everybody makes
It's
like
a up and down.
yeah.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I think I think the real danger with treating things like that is not that that's like a bad strategy or that's not something you should do, but that there's kind of an almost inherent acceptance of the status quo baked into it. It's you look at like your situation, you say this is reality, and so I'm going to look for the best things within this reality, and sometimes you gotta realize like, hey, the DMV doesn't need to suck as much as it does.
Right.
Yeah, you can like have a good experience like socializing with someone there, but also like we've got a lot of different strategies for making licenses for people to drive.
Yeah.
We could actually maybe make this better, and at least personally, I think part of like getting to that step where you like look for an improvement is like acknowledging that there's not like a lot of good. And the thing we're
Sitting
talking about,
around.
like.
Well, you're saying look at it and try to be realistic about in evaluating the situation you're in, right?
I'm saying
Or
like
more than that.
thinking about things and saying like, does it have to be this way? Like, is there another possibility that like could have happened?
Right.
And like, if you can recognize like, hey, yeah, there was an alternative to the Holocaust. It was not doing the Holocaust. That's how you know there's like been an injustice that you should care about and be upset about.
Right.
And
And
similarly, the DMV is an injustice in its current state.
That needs some updating.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like it's separating like coping strategies to get through something, which is what I think like you're talking about. It's like it's a way to emotionally handle these things and like continue.
Check
living.
your attitude about it and
Right, and like still.
what do I have
find
control over right
happiness.
now? Yeah.
And then like I guess beliefs about like the world and reality is kind of more where I'm saying, like looking at things that happen to you or other people and thinking like, okay, well, what do I think about this as the state of the world, as the state of my life or whatever. Like, were these things okay? Were they not okay? I don't know.
Well, that's
Do
how
whatever you
things
have to do to
change in the
grow.
world too. It's like acknowledging those things, the injustices that happen,
Yeah.
and saying what can we do or what can I do.
It's kind of like a process, you know?
Yeah,
Like, you go
yeah.
through the thing,
There's no quick solution.
and
Oops, sorry, baby.
you have to understand how to make yourself better through that. Whether or not, like, even if just surviving, that's, or, I don't know, if you,
Sometimes that's all you
or
can
finding peace, you know? I think that's great.
Mhm.
And then you can look back once you're in a place where you're able to make change. Because, like, if you can't make the change, then it doesn't do you any good to, like, dwell wholeheartedly on it. Like, take care of yourself before you can take care of others kind of idea. And, like, you should make change once
Yeah.
you're willing and able to, you know?
I think what you guys are saying is kind of the same thing, right? Like you're at the beginning steps and then you're like past this part already and now you're like, what can be done here?
Some people are really motivated by that negativity,
And get trapped in the negative cycle.
though. Or
Yeah.
motivated to make change by it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Just social changes.
Yeah, and like personally for me, I think framing things like that sometimes feels more empowering because it feels like there are things we can do, right? If I just try to like think about the situation and think like, okay, is there like anything I can take from this? Was there anything good about this? Like sometimes that just feels a little bit hopeless. It feels like I don't have it in me to make this situation in this moment better.
That also puts all the pressure on you as an individual, right? To
Yeah, I don't know if it
flip the
has to, but I think
situation
it does a
or
lot.
like look for you're trying to make the best of everything, even though it's a bad situation,
Yeah.
versus saying that person is, or this situation is.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing that maybe like feels good about it to me is like sometimes there are situations where I think it's like I will feel better if I just say like, you know what, it wasn't really my fault that I had to sit in traffic today. That was just something that I had to do, and I'm not gonna blame myself for being mad about it because it does suck.
Yeah.
Then,
Just
you know,
really wasn't great. Yeah, that seems valid. Okay, last statement, because it's getting hot in here. It's possible that some of my beliefs are not true.
I mean, yeah,
Yes, for me, yeah.
absolutely.
But I want to know. I know which ones are.
I've never been wrong about anything ever.
Hell
Never been
yeah,
wrong
let's go.
about anything ever. Carl, have you ever been wrong about
Hey,
anything?
what lottery numbers should I use?
Yeah.
What's the meaning of life?
Yeah.
If I don't make a guess, then I can't be wrong.
It's true. Playing the game. boys.
Don't make a guess and
Play.
you'll never be wrong. Okay, thanks for playing the game, guys. This has been really interesting. Say bye to the world.
Bye to the world.